Hello, I'm EnterElysium and welcome to a First Impressions review, whatever you want to call it, of Gratuitous Space Battles 2. So, I have played, I don't know, about 6, maybe a little bit more hours of Gratuitous Space Battles 2 so far. I would have played more, except I've run into a bug, and I will explain that in due course. Gratuitous Space Battles 2 is a sequel to, of course, Gratuitous Space Battles 1, which I played loads of. Steam says I've got 60 hours, I think I've got maybe another 60 on top of that. I played all of the expansions, I played some of the mods as well, and the really good modding scene for it. They added things like Dreadnought-class ships, an entire new campaign with really tough enemies and new weapons. So, you know, Gratuitous Space Battles is something that I really did like, and I played a lot of. So Gratuitous Space Battles 2 comes along, and I'm like, yeah! So, Gratuitous Space Battles 2 has just come into beta. It is available now on Positech's website. However, there is, no Steam version currently. There will be. When you buy it on their website, you get a Steam key when it comes out in Steam, so don't worry about that. But it is in beta. And I have had a couple of bugs so far. So, let's explain what Gratuitous Space Battles really is for those of you who don't know. It's a game about making ships, using the ship designer and stuff, setting out your fleet before the battle, and then pressing play and basically watching the carnage happen. Basically, explosions, laser beams, space lightning, missiles, lots of missiles if you play my tactics. But I'm a scumlord in terms of missile tactics. And then basically watching the battle. You don't actually have any influence in the battle itself. That's something I was hoping that maybe would change in Gratuitous Space Battles 2, if I'm perfectly frank. I was hoping that maybe there'd be a few gameplay changes, maybe you could give limited actions during battles, but no, it's staying to the true tried-and-tested technique of really just going, okay, this is a battle. It's basically Michael Bay on steroids for science fiction. Watch it and have fun, which, is cool. So firstly, I'm just going to mention the menus are a lot sexier in Gratuitous Space Battles 2. There's a lot of sexiness going on. There's, random waveforms and floating Iron Man HUDs. However, this is going to be a problem later on. So, let's go into this. You have battles, and you've got maybe 10 missions currently in the beta. Let's pick not this one. Now, the reason I haven't done these 4, by the way, I would have done them before the review, is this mission, every time I'm about to complete it, it crashes for me. So I get maybe 2/3 of the way through the battle to a point where I know, I'm wiping the floor of them, and it crashes every time. I don't know if this is just me, or if it's everyone, but it is a bug that I encounter every single time. So there are certainly crashes involved in this beta currently. And beta is beta, of course, but you are buying into it. So every time I'm playing this mission, I get a crash. Outside of this mission, I've had maybe 2 or 3 crashes. Inside that mission, crash every time. Let's pick another mission. Let's pick the very first one. So you can see you've got a budget. We've got 22,000 credits. Pilots, enemy races Terran, map is large. So there are 4 races. Each race has a slightly different hull types and access to certain weapons or certain, modules, which we'll get into in a minute. If we look at my high score, you can see, okay, I've completed it on 8,831 score. So your score, excellent. I've crashed. So, well, we'll add that to the number of crashes. 3 to 4 crashes now. Okay, I'll catch you guys in a second again. Okay, so back inside. So you've got the score. So if we deploy the fleet, you can see that we've got a cost here. So I've spent on my loadout here 21.492k out of 22k. And left over is converted into honor. So this honor is something you will get. Basically, any money you don't spend gets converted into honor. And if you win, you get that honor. So, basically it's a gamble. Do you try and put down one small ship that will try and beat the entire enemy fleet? Or do you go all out like I have here and gone, screw it, I'm going to put everything down? Anything you get when you win, this gets given to you. And that can unlock new prizes, new parts. You get to unlock new weapons, components, new ship hulls, new races, and I think new cosmetics for your ships as well. So I'm actually going to go with this. Now, this is an interesting loadout. We have here a Dreadnought. That's something that wasn't in Gratuitous Space Battles 1. There weren't any Dreadnoughts. There were modded in Dreadnoughts that used a large cruiser hull, but there weren't actually any actual Dreadnought classes. In Gratuitous Space Battles 2, however, you can get Dreadnought class ships, which is pretty cool. So we've got a missile Dreadnought here, an energy weapon Dreadnought here, and we've got some fighters. Now, in Gratuitous Space Battles 1, you didn't actually need to have carriers. You didn't actually, put the fighters anywhere. They just existed on the battlefield. They didn't actually have anywhere to live or get repaired or come to the battle in. In Gratuitous Space Battles 2, you can only put down fighters if you have, somewhere to, arm them, keep them, refit them. So if we put down some fighters, you'll see they'll blink. And they're blinking because they don't have a carrier. And you select the carrier, so I've selected this as their carrier, and then I've given them orders to, you know, escort. So we've got 2 fighters here escorting our lovely dreadnought there, and 2 fighters here escorting this dreadnought. You can give orders to your ships as well. And have a look. You've got this sexy sort of interface here. So if we look, oh, it's attack dreadnoughts, attack cruisers, attack frigates, attack destroyers. So you can have a look and go, okay, so the priority of attacking big ships is 80%, so it's mainly going to target other dreadnoughts, which I'm fine with. You've got an attack at range, so I actually want them to attack at a slightly further range. Maybe the range of the Tracer Limpet mine. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the Tracer Limpet launcher does. I'm assuming it makes it easier for missiles to hit whatever it latches onto, but it doesn't actually say currently in the beta. I'm hoping that'll change, but for now we'll just change the range to the max range of that weapon. What about you? So for this guy, you can see that all of these are actually being done already, so they're all at 820, which is the range of the proton beam. And that's actually really useful. You can basically set all these things up, give it an order, say cautious, which means that it will retreat when it's slightly damaged to get heals up or whatever, if it's got a healing module on it. And you can hit save, and every time you deploy the same ship in battles, it will give it the same orders again, which saves you having to every single time go in and go, okay, I'm going to change this, there we go, I'm going to change this, there we go, and I'm going to change this. I love that. That's brilliant, a little thing you can do there. And you can give it orders such as Vulture, which is, you know, target ships that are damaged, attack different things, be in a formation, retaliate, etc. Keep moving. I'm not going to do any of those. So, shall we watch a battle? Alright, so I'm not expecting to get any honor actually, because I've completed this battle before with much larger margins. And you can't actually get honor if you've done the mission before with a higher honor threshold, so a better score. You can only improve upon your previous score. So let's do fight and watch the battle unfold. That screen, by the way, is a lot better than the screen in Gratuitous Space Battle 1. There's a big improvement. It uses a lot more of the screen space. Much prefer that UI. So immediately you'll see that we've got some lovely sexy ships to face off against. One thing I will say, however, and I will have a few complaints about this, is we've got some really nice sexy effects. However, this lens flare in the middle of the screen, it's annoying. I can't get rid of it. There isn't an option to get rid of this lens flare. And it is map specific. Some maps don't have the sun in the background and they don't have this lens flare, but it's annoying. It's in the way. It's taking up a lot of room. And the HUD itself, actually, if we have a look, you've got 100% of us fleet here, 100% of their fleet there. No one's actually been killed on either side yet. There we go. Suddenly we've got first blood. I think we killed a fighter. Ooh, you're being destroyed. These little things around it, however, that aren't quite so little, are taking up a lot of screen space. And this is a game about watching these sexy fights. Oh, look at the sexy fight. But the HUD actually takes up a lot of room that doesn't need to be there. And it actually really does get in the way. And the more I actually play this game, the more intrusive this HUD gets. Like, it doesn't need to be this large. It really doesn't. The information is here, yet it comes out to here. Same on both sides. And you've got down below, you've got this big bar here. I actually really want a very minimal HUD. I want to watch the sexy fight. This is a game where I can do nothing now. This is it. I am watching, hands off. I want to watch the fight. I don't need the information so much. But, speaking of information, we actually have mouse overs. You can now mouse over ships and see, okay, well, they've got no shield, no armor. He's got hull 38%, and he's going to be killed, which is very nice. I do like the ability to just query this and be like, okay, so how are we doing? Actually, if you zoom in, we can see some of the sexy effects. So that was an ECM effect. That guy got basically paralyzed. We EMP'd him. We've got some lovely explosions going on. We've got space lightning, missile spam, explosion. The effects in this are better than Gratuitous Space Battles 1, and they are really lovely effects. And I would say that battles are generally better. But, and I know I'm going to be a bit of a party pooper by saying this, while the effects and the sound effects are really, really good, they are sexy and they are, you know, real carnage, and that's what you want. If we have a look at our ship, there is a certain fuzziness to our ship, and I'm not sure what this is about. I don't know if it's very low quality assets, and you can see along the edge of this here, there's this sort of blurring, and even on the hull of the ship itself, it's not quite as crisp as you'd want. And that kind of lets it down for me. This is a game all about the sexiness of the fights, and while the effects themselves are really Michael Bay sexy explosions and lightning and stuff, the ships themselves are a little bit So we've won the fight, and we've got no honor because I've completed it with, less credits spent before. So we'll go on, and it'll be like, oh yeah, this is the stuff you get to unlock. I've unlocked everything. You get to unlock modules, so you've got weapons and armor and stuff, and you can unlock more ship hulls, you can unlock more races. There's currently Terrans and 3 others. You can unlock components, and these are just basically cosmetics for your ships. So let's go and have a look at ship design.
Starship design mode.
So those of you not familiar with Gratuitous Space Battles, there are 2 different types of modules you can get. You can get square modules and you can get hexagon modules. Hexagon modules tend to be weapons, so, whatever this is, what are you? Pulse laser. Or anti-fighter beam. Whereas the square modules tend to be things like armor, crew compartment, power, engines, etc. And these all come together to build your ship. So you've got these 2 important resources. These are the most important things. Power and crew. So if we take away the generator, we don't have enough power. If we take away the crew, we don't have enough crew. And different weapons and different systems use different amounts of each. So say missiles don't use much power, but they use a lot of crew. Whereas something like an energy beam might use a lot of energy, but doesn't necessarily need a lot of crew. And you can get, say, a different variety of engines. You've got thruster racks, which are really good at maneuvering. You see that they've got thrust injection engines. Ooh, where are they? Which have got a really, really nice maneuver, but they've only got 70 thrust, as opposed to if you say you click the high performance engine, it's got 100 thrust. So it's really about balancing your ships and sort of designing them to be, fulfill the roles that you want. Now, one addition in Gratuitous Space Battles 2, which is a very nice addition in theory, is you can actually design the look of your ship. So you've got this visual thing, and if you click over here, you can see that you have, this is a ship, it's got all these little things, and if we actually pare it down to what it really is, those are all additions. If we get rid of those, that's the basic hull. That is what you get when you add stuff, and that's what you're adding stuff to. You can see you've got little hard points here, which weapons are going in, and then you can add stuff. So, okay, we're going to add an engine. And we'll make the engine green. Actually, we're using that green. So that green, there we go. And then we'll add a wing. A wing, yeah, a wing is a good idea. And you put the wing on. Like, okay, right, well, I've got the wing, I'll make it green, and then I want to mirror it on both sides, and then maybe I want to make a duplicate. Move the duplicate to here, and then mirror it again. And that's a lovely addition. I really like that. It allows you to get a lot more variation. It allows you to make your ships look slightly different, fulfill different roles, and you can actually then sort of tell them apart. I really like that. However, it is very primitive, and it has a number of issues. So I'm going to go over the issues now. It's a nice addition in theory. Do agree with it. Lovely. Very nice. And you've got the things like this. Look at that. It's pretty sexy. But if we open up something else like this... Oh my god, what the hell? What resolution was this rendered at? This is horrific. Like, this doesn't look okay even at that small. Like... Oh... The hulls themselves are okay. They're not brilliant, but they're certainly an okay resolution. But some assets, like these wings, are okay. But some assets, you get them and you just scale them up slightly to look at them. And they get a little bit pixelated. Like, that one's fine. That one's fine. But if we open up, say... Ooh, who's an offender that wasn't the one I picked up earlier? This one. It's a little bit pixelated on the edge. And I'm just a bit like... I don't know, how can I use these? Like, obviously freedom has been given to really utilize these as much as you want, but you start scaling things up and then you see these artifacts in them. Oh. Now, of course, I am complaining about this, and it is a beta, so these could be going to be changed. However, I've got the feeling that these are pretty final. There are a few things that are going to be tweaked and changed. There are a few sound effects missing, etc. Maybe a few visual elements missing. But most of these are, apparently, from what I can tell, final. And they don't handle well. Admittedly, I picked this one out because it's the worst offender. It is the one that makes me just want to vomit. But, most of them are borderline okay. Now, if we look at this one's another offender. Look at that. That's very pixelated. That is horrifically pixelated. And, it would make sense to use that piece on a fighter. Where a fighter's very small, you can't even zoom in that close. But on a capital ship or dreadnought, you just can't use it. Now, another thing is you can't get close to the edge of the map, so, sort of the edge of the screen. So we put an engine on here at the back of the ship, and I'm like, okay, I want to put fire in the engine. I can't. It won't let me place it, because it goes off the edge. I'd like to see a little bit of consideration made for the fact that you actually want to put engines at the back of your ships. Now, nearly all the hulls, I have difficulty placing engines at the back. Normally, I have to go, oh, screw it, I'm going to place the engine at the side, or I have to use that. And even then, you can see that it's got a square bounding box, despite the fact that it's actually a rectangular element, and I can't actually get this behind the hull. Another complaint I have about this, and yes, I know there are a lot of complaints, is that you have this thing called a Z-axis, a Z-axis. So if I want to, you know, change the Z-axis to this, I can go like that and then go, okay, I want the engine on top of the wing. Sorry. There we go. I'm selecting both parts at once. There we go. Alright, so select the engine and go, boop, there we go, it's on top now. Boop, it's behind. Okay, so if I want the engine behind the ship, right? Or if I wanted, say, a sensor relay or something to come out of the ship. So take this and be like, okay, I want this sensor relay coming out of the side of the ship. Let's put it on the minimum Z value. What is it? 0.01. And the ship. Okay, what is the ship? The ship is 0. Okay, let's increase that. It's not come to the front. It's reset itself. You can't change the Z-axis of the ship's hull. And I don't know if this is a beta feature or if it's just something that's a limitation of the game, but it's kind of frustrating that you can't actually have that much creative control of your ships. In addition, that when you're in game, the shield effect that sort of looks very pretty and hexagonal and appears in different places when you hit on your ship, which is a very nice, sexy shield effect, I have to say that is a very nice effect, doesn't always cover the little cosmetic bits you put on your ship, which is very weird and kind of jarring. But it's a very nice thing in theory, and I really do like the idea of it, but it certainly has some implementation issues currently. So if we look at our ship, you can see we've got these lovely little modules, and you have a look through, you've got a fair number of modules. You've got things like armor, and armor is one of your 3 important health things. So you've got HP from your hull, which is hull points, or whatever you want to call them, hit points, which is basically given to you mostly by the modules you have and your hull itself. So if we have a look at different hulls, you'll see that, say, this frigate has... where are you? I think we might need to open it, actually, to see the hit points. But it'll have a different number of hit points to, say, this hull. And there'll be a different amount of HP between hulls. And they also have different abilities, which is very nice, actually. If we have a look at, say, my favourite destroyer currently, which is a Dreadnought, the Blackbeard. Blackbeard's got an arm boost of 85%, it makes armor really good in it. A speed boost of 20% and targeting boost of 10%. But if you look at, say, another Dreadnought, you'll see armor boost of 80, a speed boost of 40. So you've got these different hulls, which lend themselves to different things by these bonuses that they have. And, you know, because this is one race here, they have a, you know, tendency to have arm bonuses, and that's a way to flavour the races, which is really pretty nice. And they've got these different standard modules, which are basically where you put things like reactors and stuff, engines, and then hard points, which is where you put your weapons. And it comes with some power and some crew, although you never use, you know, just that. You always need extra. This is a pretty expensive hull, by the way, just shy of 1,000 for the Dreadnought hull. But there, anyway, talking about the health, you have your armor, you have your shield, and you have your hit points. So your hit points are the last thing to go. Before that, you have your armor, and armor comes in sort of 2 numbers, really. You have your average armor, and you have your total armor. So total armor is effectively another hit point bar, whereas average armor is your resistance. So if we were to include, say, lots of armor, you'll see the average armor goes up. Anything below that number doesn't do damage. Anything above that armor overflows and does damage. So say if we were hit by a load of fighters now, the fighters wouldn't really be doing much, because the fighter would be doing maybe 4 or 5 damage, and we'd be like, yeah, we've got 9 armor. And armor allows you to really ignore that, and because we've got an armor boost on most of our ships, this is really good. However, on this ship, minus 10 armor boost, not quite so good. Shields, very similar. So if we get, say, the heavy shield. Heavy shield has a shield resistance of 17. So shield resistance of 17 means that anything less than 17 doesn't do damage to us. It's a shield strength of 30 though, which is fairly low. So if we were to get, say, a medium shield with a shield strength of 70, combine them, you get a much higher shield strength. So you can use the shield resistance from the heavy shield and use the medium shield to really provide more shield HP, in other words. However, you'll see that maybe they don't go to the numbers that you would think when you add them together. That's because you've got this diminishing returns effect. So if we mouse over it, it'll say 90% effectiveness, because we are combining 2 different shields. Same for armor. If we get a load of armor, and we mouse over it, you'll see we've got 61% effectiveness. And this is sort of a diminishing returns effect to stop you, like, just going, okay, I'm just going to tank I like it. It's a very nice mechanic. It's something you do get used to fairly quick. However, there is a number of complaints I have about the modules. And I know this is going to be a little bit nitpicky, and I understand it's a balanced thing that they've put in, but if we have a look at, say, a Dreadnought, right? There are no point defense weapons for Dreadnoughts. There are no weapons for shooting down missiles, or blocking missiles, or jamming missiles. And there aren't really any ones for taking out fighters. So, if we have a look at, say, tracking speed. The highest tracking speed we have here is the Heavy Pulse Laser at 1.9. Really, weapons that shoot down fighters tend to start about 2 tracking speed. And there aren't any sort of real point defense weapons, like if we have a look at another hull, just go find a destroyer hull, Chavez. You can see we've got things like point defense laser, automated point defense, long range point defense. You've got the Scrambler, which makes missiles fly in all random directions. You've got the Smart Bomber, which will blow up missiles. You've got the ECM beam, which will block missiles. And you've got all these different options, but you only have them on destroyers. And it is a way of forcing you to use destroyers and making you use these smaller ships. And while I can understand that from a balance point of view, there's maybe trying to force you to use smaller ships when you could just go, okay, screw it, I'm just going to have one badass, like, Dreadnought. I kind of like a game that's all about the gratuitousness of the battle and the carnage. I kind of would like to just, I like the ability to just build the most badass Dreadnought possible and just be like, yeah, take this on, wade in. I do think that maybe this is a balance mechanic I don't like. It just seems very odd that you can't put point defense on a bigger ship, and that you, for some reason, can't just whack a point defense laser on a Dreadnought. No. Why can the Dreadnought have that? Oh, it must go on a destroyer. But surely we could just scale it up, or even just take the normal sized one for the destroyer and put it on the Dreadnought. It would look tiny, but screw it. But you can't. And that's a balance mechanic I maybe don't like. And another complaint I actually have, and I know there's a lot of complaints, but I tend to complain more about games that I really love, or have the possibility of liking. Just forgive me for it. Is if we go back down to my lovely Blackbeard class Dreadnought, you can see that a lot of these icons for placing things are very close together. And this is something we found in Gratuitous Space Battles 1, where modders had actually modded in a Dreadnought class. It was a cruiser, but very large with lots and lots of hull points. There weren't any Dreadnoughts in Gratuitous Space Battles 1, but the mod did add them. And the mod had these issues, that you'd get all these points, and they'd be very hard to actually fit things in. And now with Gratuitous Space Battles 2 comes around, and Dreadnoughts are now a class. And it has the same problems that modders had with Gratuitous Space Battles 1, and I find it kind of disappointing that I can't actually very easily put things in. So for instance, if I want to put a torpedo in, cool. Now in the one next to it, can't very easily put the torpedo, there we go, got that one in. Put one in down here, no, there we go. And this is fairly difficult to actually do. So this is the first time I've done it, this quickly. Yeah, you can see having a couple of issues here. Despite the fact it's highlighted, it's not placing the item. There we go. Grr. Come on. There we go. So, this can be very frustrating. And actually, what I just did there, you're probably like, I don't see the issue. It took you, a few seconds longer. That's the quickest I've ever done this. Normally, it takes me a lot of tries, especially when you've got a lot of modules sitting around, like, okay, I'm going to put my armor there, and I'll put my armor there. Put my armor here. You can very easily misclick and go, oh, balls, and then be like, okay, I'm gonna put where is it? Torpedo in there, and it's very easy to get it in the wrong place because of the way they overlap, and it can be very frustrating. And it's something that I thought would have been an obvious thing to change, but hasn't. I mean, there's no way I can zoom in to really get closer to actually have a look around or to alter things. And I do find that kind of annoying. Hopefully that'll be changed when the game comes fully out. No, I don't save. Cool. So if we have a quick look at the options menu, you've got a number of things you can do, like, you can get rid of drones, pods, space hulks, debris, shadows, etc. if you have a PC that can't handle it. Lens streaks. It isn't the lens flare itself, it's just the streak of light. It's not the actual hexagonal artifacts, which is a shame. I really want to get rid of those. A lot of, ability to get rid of some of the more GPU intensive sort of things, which is nice for people wanting to run this on, say, laptops or whatever. You also have separate volume sliders, which is nice. The volume is, the soundtrack is pretty damn good. I do like the sound effects and so on in this. And you've got a boardless mode as well, which is lovely. I do like a boardless mode. You also got this crazy multi-monitor resolution here. I might have to try it at some point. And you've also got challenges. So this is the online element. This will basically mean that, okay, so there's none here at the moment, but you can say create a challenge. You'll put down ships, and you'll make your ships, and then you'll be like, okay, someone take this on and see how, easily you can beat it. And you can put other ones up and you can take on people, which is a nice element. I do like that. It's very, cool. You can have you be against your buddy and be like, okay, I made this amazing dreadnought. You try and take it out, and then your buddy can try and take on your dreadnought. So that's pretty much Gratuitous Space Battles 2.
Galactic battle mode activated.
Let's just load up something. Can I load up a previous? No. Okay. I'm just going to chuck down a bunch of ships and probably lose because I'm not going to put any thought into it. But Gratuitous Space Battles 2 really is Gratuitous Space Battles 1 again. And it's asking about $30, just shy of $30, I think, off their website. And that's a little bit of a problem for me. Now, don't get me wrong, it is more Gratuitous Space Battles. And there are certainly some nice changes so far. And of course, I'm reviewing a beta, and anything can change in the beta, and a lot of the problems that I've complained about can be fixed, etc. But I'm going to review it as beta, and when it comes out, I'll probably review it again, and I'll probably say, okay, maybe now it's worth buying. But here's the issue: there aren't any real big changes. There's actually less content because Gratuitous Space Battles 1 had a load of DLC. Gratuitous Space Battles 2 doesn't have the benefit of that DLC, and of course, it's still full priced. So, actually, I'm a bit dubious about whether it's worth picking up. Certainly not at the moment. If the crashes are a thing that happens to everyone, the crashes are a bit too common for me, especially since I can't actually progress in the campaign. But it might be worth keeping an eye on. Now, the person who will really want this game as is will be someone who played loads of Gratuitous Space Battles 1, has played it out, has played mods, and is like, okay, I don't know what to do now. Well, play Gratuitous Space Battles 2. Oh, we're going to get totally owned by fighters because I haven't put any fighter defenses up. Yeah, missiles aren't going to do it. Oh, we actually hit some. What? So if you played loads of Gratuitous Space Battles 1, you've got all the DLC, and maybe you've played all the mods, maybe Gratuitous Space Battles 2 is for you now. Or very soon. However, and here's the issue, it doesn't have any real gameplay changes. It has, some sexy new effects. It has the ability to really customize your ships, but the way that the problems with the slight fuzziness on the ship and it doesn't quite look that clean. I do like the new shield effect, etc. That's the thing, though. There's a lot of new sexy effects. Ooh, bye-bye. But there are a number of issues, and it's not better all round. There are generally, I would say overall, it is better. And I think that, their sexy new UI, etc. is very nice. But with the amount of DLC available for Gratuitous Space Battles 1, I'd probably say hold off. Maybe in a little while, maybe when it's fully out. And of course, I will recheck when it's fully out, and I'll give you an opinion then as well. But for now, I think there's probably you get a lot more mileage, and there's a lot more stuff if you get, say, Gratuitous Space Battle 1, all of its DLC, and you download some of the mods available for it. But currently, Gratuitous Space Battles 2 doesn't really offer anything new. But Gratuitous Space Battle 2 does seem to be, interesting, and I will continue to play it and see how it comes on in the future. And when it fully comes out, I will definitely have another look back at it. Yeah, I'm a missile spam. Oh, I remember this battle. The second battle is actually very, very tough. The enemies have ridiculously high shield resistance, and there are only a few weapons in the game that can actually beat their shields. So yeah, we're actually going to lose this battle because there is nothing we've got that can actually defeat their shields. Yeah, this is an insanely hard mission for the second mission. I think they might need to change the order. But yeah, Gratuitous Space Battles 2 doesn't really offer any real gameplay changes over Gratuitous Space Battles 1. It just does stuff generally, mostly better. And that's not a terrible thing, but with the amount of DLC and stuff available for Gratuitous Space Battles 1, I'd probably say Gratuitous Space Battles 1 is probably the one you want for the moment if you're new. If you are, say, a veteran, Gratuitous Space Battles 2 might be the one that you want in beta. But otherwise, I'd say hold off until, maybe it's a bit more stable and it's a bit more finished and all the elements are there. I've been EnterElysium, and if you'd like to, like and not subscribe, please consider subscribing. But until next time, stay gratuitously shiny.